Hello and welcome to this Techerati interview series ahead of Big Data and AI World on the 8th and 9th of March at Excel London. I'm Stuart Crowley, Closer Still Media's Global Content Manager and Editor of Techerati. And today my guest is Susan Walsh. She is the founder of Classification Guru, helping businesses improve the quality of their data. And she's also listed on Data IQ 100 Most Influential Data Practitioners. At Big Data and AI World, Susan will lead a session on cleaning up your bad data. So welcome to the series, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me on. Can't wait for the session.
Oh, my pleasure. So over the course of your career, how did you identify that big bad data, I guess, affecting many businesses? How did you identify this as being a problem? And did you see it coming from a way off? Was it kind of like a told you so moment?
Yeah, I was kind of looking around thinking, why is nobody else doing this? So I was working for a spend analytics company and they're charging a fortune for these sexy dashboards, analytics, all that stuff. But 90% of the work behind it is the cleaning and classification of the data. And I'm thinking, why is nobody talking about this? Why are we pretending that AI is doing this when it's real people? And when it was time to move on and I didn't really know where I could get a job doing the same thing, I thought I'll set up my own business. But I'm an expert in the cleaning and the classification bit. There must be people out here who don't want the dashboards, they just want the clean data. And this was nearly 6 years ago when most companies didn't have their own in-house analytics teams. This has only happened in the last couple of years. So everything was outsourced. And I just thought there must be people out there that just want that part of their data cleaned. And, when I went and started exhibiting at events and speaking to people, they were like, yes, I need help with that.
What do you think has changed in the last 6 years?
Definitely there's more investment in data in terms of reporting and analytics and using that to drive the business forward. Unfortunately, what's not happened is that cleaning data is not seen as a priority, and that's why my business is growing. And I think there is a perception that it's quite menial and it's, anyone can do it. And yes, anyone can, but if you do it day in, day out on a regular basis, you can be super efficient, super accurate, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune.
I think maybe a perception is that data cleaning would just be maybe making sure your folders are tidy and all structured in a way. What does data cleaning mean for you?
So for me, it's making sure that the business names are spelled correctly, people's names are spelled correctly, addresses are all formatted the same way, same with telephone numbers, things are categorized and classified correctly. Again, there is some amazing technology out there, but if you don't put clean data in first, you're not going to get clean data out. It's the whole rubbish in, rubbish out. It really is true. And there still needs to be more emphasis on you have to get your data clean first. And guess what? Sometimes there is no quick fix. You have to just do it manually and suck it up.
What are those benefits to you that cleaning big data can do?
If we start with marketing, if your database isn't correct, not only are you breaching privacy laws, but you are potentially sending out mail to people who don't live at that address, who are not interested in your product. That is wasted money, and you could potentially get a huge hefty fine from a regulatory body. If one of the things, it's not just about protecting the security of the data, it also has to be accurate as well. So if it's not, you're in breach. And then that's reputational damage for your business, and that can be much harder to come back from. So there's a real knock-on effect. Internally, if you don't have a grip on your data and what's going on, you are open to fraud, either internally or externally. For example, dummy companies might be set up and they're getting paid regularly. Invoices, you might get the same invoice paid twice because there's a 0 in one of them and the letter O in another, and nobody's noticed. You can have just by accident, like multiple versions of a supplier in your accounts payable system, and maybe an invoice ends up getting set up on 2 different accounts and getting paid twice by accident. So that can happen in procurement space, which is where I do a lot of work. If you don't know what you're spending with your suppliers, you might not be paying the best rate. You could be missing out on cost savings. You could potentially be working with suppliers that are not reputable, or are, potentially failing, and you don't realize, and you could lose out on either, the goods or services that you've paid for. So there are so many different reasons to clean your data, and that's just a couple of them. And that's why I created the 𝐴𝐸𝐴𝐸 methodology. So your data has to have its coat on, so it's got to be consistent. Making sure everyone's using the same terms, standards, processes to do things. It's got to be organized. So make sure it's categorized correctly. If you want to know how many units you sold by person or by buyer or by region, then you have to categorize it like that first, so that you can just go in and get it. Then it's of course got to be accurate. And then once you've got your consistent, organized and accurate data, guess what? You've got trustworthy data, which means you can make better business decisions.
How easy it is for them to actually realize that they have that issue?
Most don't realize how bad it is, and that can be because your data's in lots of silos. The other thing that I always say is, the more you look at your data and are familiar with it, the more obvious it is when things are not right. So you could look at your data set for the first time and not realize that you have misclassified data, or there's extra units being ordered or manufactured for something because you don't understand the data. But if you're looking at it regularly, if you see that every month you are manufacturing 1,000 units and 1 month it's 10,000, somebody's probably put an extra 0 in. Now, it could be a marketing promotion or a sales promotion, but you want to double check those kinds of things. But you're not going to have that ability unless you actually know your data. Data problems are really people problems, and everybody works with data. We're not all data professionals, and it's not just about targeting data professionals to get this right. We have to speak to everybody. And that's why I came up with the 𝐴𝐸𝐴𝐸 methodology, because that's something that a receptionist can understand, sales and marketing can understand, finance can understand, the CEO can understand. Talking to them about algorithms and neural networks and meshes, that means nothing to them. It turns them off and they get intimidated. We need to really speak in less intimidating language if we want to get other parts of the business on board with what we're trying to achieve.
Is that some of the biggest pieces of advice that you would give to a C-level executive, for example, who is making these decisions?
Everything is driven by clean data. Even AI, has to learn from clean data sets to be able to learn and repeat that process. If you've got dirty data in there, it's going to spread through the whole AI, and you're not going to be any better off. In fact, it's probably going to cause more problems.
Would it be the case that once their data is cleaned, once they feel like they've succeeded with cleaning their data, how easy is that to maintain?
That's the magic word, the secret sauce, as I say. Once you've got your data coat on, you have to keep that coat on all year round. You can't just fix it and leave it, because you'll be back to square one in 12 months. You need to maintain it regularly, spot check it regularly, because people, guess what? They accidentally delete things or overwrite things with a cut and paste, or people just have different opinions about what things should be. And so it might be right today, but in a week it might not be right. So it's really important. And I guess it's part of that habit of getting to know your data as well, because the more you look at it, the more easily something that's not right will jump out at you.
How do you identify the root cause of those problems? How do you actually dig up that root cause? And is it different for each company, that kind of root cause of what causes the data?
It's always the point of input. Now that can be from an employee, from a customer, from a supplier, I cleaned a database for a retailer, and people order stuff and they put crazy names in like Big Brother, Mum and Dad. That is not someone's first name.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere, and it really depends, and depending on if it's in a business context, who's putting in the information. Do they really care about it, or do they just choose the first thing from the drop down box, which happens all the time?
Sounds like it's a very across the board a human issue.
Yeah, and I think again it's about talking to people in really simplistic language and terms, and the kind of what's in it for me. Well, why should I bother about putting this in right into the system? Well, guess what? Your friend who sits across the office from you is spending 2 hours having to fix things because you didn't put that in properly. There are consequences when you don't get it right, and I don't think that's always explained clearly to people. And I think if they knew the impact it had on their friends, their colleagues, then maybe they might be more considerate about paying attention to detail.
What would you say a good data leader looks like, and how do they lead from the front to be able to clean up that data and have an efficient business?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say lead by example. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell your team to follow these principles if you're not applying them yourself. Be inclusive, and inclusive not just of your team but of the whole organization. Mm-hmm. And being like an influencer within your own organization to get the rest of the business to understand how important data quality is, and clean data and data governance, and all those things.
We'll have a lot of business leaders, C-levels coming to Big Data and AI World. So with your session in mind on cleaning big data, why would you encourage them to come along to your session and be there in person to talk to you and talk to others and share that conversation around cleaning your data?
Number one thing for business leaders and CEOs is you will increase your profitability if you clean your data. Data quality and cleaning is an investment, it's not a cost. You will literally have an impact on your bottom line. And if you want to know more about that and how to get your whole organization involved, then come along and find out more. A lot of senior leaders will not admit, but the reality is that this stuff does intimidate them. They don't necessarily know how everything works. And this is a really good, safe space to come and learn that in an informative but fun and relaxing way. And there's no judgment. It caters for all levels of knowledge.
Another big benefit is that these C-level executives, business leaders, they can get a ticket for free to go to Big Data World to then
even better
and hear you speak. So that's the one major benefit as well, is that it's free to come see you, to hear you, and then that free knowledge that they get to then hopefully build their business and create profit out of cleaner data.
Yeah, and I think we forgot the most important thing here, which is the fun element of this, because I can promise you, based on the background, this is my data den, there's a lot of fun in my presentations as well. So not only do you leave with knowledge and some skills to interrogate your data, you'll leave with a smile on your face because you'll have had a laugh as well.
Well, I shall see you at Big Data World, and hopefully everyone else.
Yeah, can't wait.